We are so excited today to have a very special guest, the CEO of the company UpLyft, which is developing a very, very new and exciting product. His name is Craig Misrak. Welcome, Craig. Thank you so much for joining us on the Ginchiest.
Thank you so much, Viola and Dan, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and to have the opportunity to chat a little bit about our technology and be helpful for your listeners.
Yeah. If you could just start us out with describing what is the UpLyft device and what makes it so unique.
Sure. So UpLyft is being designed and commercialized to be the first self-transfer system from bed to wheelchair and wheelchair to bed for individuals with limited mobility. In addition to that, we have a very strong mission to, within the institutional healthcare system, provide a zero lifting transfer solution that healthcare workers, nurses, caregivers can utilize to safely transfer individuals wheelchair to bed and bed to wheelchair and save those costly back and neck injuries, which are now causing burgeonings in workers' compensation claims throughout the United States and around the world.
And can you give people an understanding of what has been used traditionally? Because as far as our understanding is, the technology hasn't really changed. So what has been typically used in people's homes and in these assisted facilities?
Yeah. So I think first of all, in some facilities and in some homes, individuals are still physically lifting other individuals. Now that may not be all the time, but it is still happening, in our opinion, too much. And there's some factors behind that, whether it's affluency or access to or insurance reimbursement dynamics. But I think the most common use that most people are familiar is the use of a hoist. Many people would refer to Hoyer, which is like Kleenex or Xerox. But Hoyer is an example of a hoist that cloth slings are utilized, that either with cloth or the use of body boards and some rolling of patients can be utilized to lift an individual out of bed. The closest competitor to ours, I think, would be considered, there are some scissor lifts out there, which again, depending upon where an individual may see them marketed online, digitally, or maybe recommended by their doctor, those have real challenges with weight limitations. And really, there isn't, as I like to say, there isn't really good support in the seat. And so that's where we come in, as UpLyft is truly a self-transfer system. That's a comfy ride that has a lot of support in your seat, but can allow someone almost in 2 minutes to transfer themselves from bed to wheelchair and wheelchair to bed if they have some dexterity in their fingers, because we have joysticks, like on custom wheelchairs. And so that's where we differentiate.
Why do you think that so little has been developed since the first Hoyer lift back in the 50s? Like, why hasn't there been as many assistive technologies developed and brought to market?
Yeah. I'm very careful to not presume or have conjecture as to why that may be, but I have some ideas. So I'll give a little story and analogy first. When I was in the diabetes medical device space, we were coming up with an ophthalmic test. We're shining light in your eye to diagnose diabetes. We were looking for anything that non-invasively could either diagnose or monitor diabetes without having to prick your finger multiple times a day. Now it's 2021. And there is still leading the market finger pricking technology. So it begs the question, why is that still the case? Now, in that case, you have major corporations that have those finger prick products, and they want to continue to see those products succeed.
Sure.
But in the lift space, from my couple years in the field, what I've learned is as follows. Silicon Valley is great as far as invention, right? I mean, it's the tech space. There's a lot of life sciences companies and medical innovation. Many times those innovations come from folks in their 20s and 30s and that are, coming out of school and are really trying to apply themselves. Well, there's books written on this. When you're 20 and 30, you really are not thinking a lot and you don't really know or understand what it's like to be 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. And so I think some of this is just talking about seniors, and then we can talk about individuals with limited mobility. I don't think minds, if you can believe it, have been focused on it. And a lot of technologies with seniors focus on safety and durability. That's like the first thing that is thought about when it comes, as opposed to the fact that seniors, just like individuals who may have a disability, have career aspirations. They have social interests. Everyone's a human being. And so really trying to think about ways to bring products to market that can foster that. It's just something that books have shown young folks aren't thinking about it as much. And so, look, you can also get into hardware. We live in a society now where it's tech and software, and hardware is not easy. Whether it's the FDA, whether it's insurance reimbursement, the capital it takes. There's a lot of reasons why that can be difficult. It doesn't stop me. So that's why we're trying to move this forward to help people, because we believe it can happen. So
yeah.
How did you come to work and UpLyft?
So it's a cool story. I founded a diabetes medical device company previously. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I want to make that clear. I was going to business school, very proud, University of Virginia, got my MBA, and I wanted to start a company. It's literally that simple. My family's all in real estate. Real estate's great. But I wanted to do something on my own. And I was introduced to a medical technology. And I thought, what better way to apply my business skills than being able to help people? And so that company, we utilized a contract manufacturer to manufacture our medical device. And while that company has since sold, I went out to lunch with the executive management of the contract manufacturer. I told them I was looking to sign on as CEO to help grow a new organization. And they had already been connected and introduced to the inventor of UpLyft. So the manufacturer got us together. I had to do my own homework like an investor would. Then I became familiar with different hoists today, the use of cloth slings, just the dynamic of scissor lifts. And then I saw folks with some spinal cord injuries, watch them be transferred in UpLyft. I said, I have to sign on. I have to come on and help and lead the organization forward. So that's how it happened.
In terms of the backstory of how the device was invented in the first place, I think, the saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Can you give us a little bit of the background story? Yeah,
it's a touching story. And it's one that I think many listeners have encountered in some way, shape, or form in their life. And so our inventor, Anton Simpson, about 6 years ago, a dear friend of his got in an accident and became paralyzed from waist down. And the gentleman's wife called Anton and said, I can't lift Patrick out of bed. What ideas do you have? And Anton is in his 80s. He's still a triple degree engineer from MIT. Yeah. He's a 35-year aerospace engineer. And so as any good engineer would do, even though he's retired, he went into his garage and invented his first UpLyft that Patrick used for 2 years consecutively to get him out of bed. So his wife didn't have the physical burden of it. Now, Patrick unfortunately passed.
Yeah.
But that very first prototype was used for 2 years. And then Anton did what a good entrepreneur would do. And he made sure he filed for patents. He filed for incorporation, and then he got to work on the next evolution of the design.
No, I mean, it certainly is exciting for a number of reasons that we'll go into them a little bit further. But in terms of getting the market, Dan, you wanted to ask that question?
How life is uplift into bringing the product to the mass market.
So I'm proud to say, and this was something on previous communications over the last few months, I couldn't say it because we hadn't started manufacturing. This is, just to give everyone an idea, this takes millions of dollars of investment to do this in an FDA compliant manner. Mm-hmm. And my philosophy in manufacturing medical technology is quality, quality, quality. We do not sacrifice quality. Now, that may cost us more money, but I believe that'll pay itself forward as we expand. And so I'm proud to say that even though we've done demonstrations in various environments, homes, facilities, had numerous individuals in that have different conditions, we just started manufacturing over the last 60 days. And so we will have our first units in the hands of customers for their use in home by the holidays. In January, the rest of the inventory will be able to be distributed and installed for our pre-order customers, but we will have a few come holiday season, and it warms my heart that we're going to be able to do that.
That's awesome. I mean, in terms of the design, it is very, very different from what you talked about with the Hoyer or hoist, in that typically those devices have to use some sort of sling. We've demonstrated in prior videos because we own a shorthands lift, and we weren't able to, or I wasn't able to use the body supports because of my condition. I don't have a lot of muscle mass, and it didn't work for me, so I used the slings. But one major issue with that, and I think that that's what makes the UpLyft so exciting, is that to get into a sling, it's a very time-consuming process. And as the person being adjusted in a sling, it's not the most comfortable. So this, with it being able to transport people in a sitting position, is really, really huge. But you wanted to ask, because we studied the demo videos very carefully, Craig, and we noticed something.
How does uplift and incorporate make supple in future burden?
So first of all, for anyone that is kind enough to go to our website or see our socials, the one thing I want to preface is we established most of our digital marketing and e-commerce during COVID. And so we do have able-bodied individuals doing demonstrations that you see on our website. We totally intend to have our customers who are willing to allow us to get some content. We plan to replace that in the future. Second of all, look, there are going to be some individuals based upon their condition that UpLyft is not going to be a solution. I do not want to come off as saying we are a one size fits all solution for everyone.
Yeah.
The third thing is Dan, I believe you were talking about the neck, and with transferring from the bed to wheelchair, there's a period of time where the individual is lifted up. And so when you see videos of our product, that's actually an earlier prototype. And so what we are working on right now is an adjunctive headrest component that can be used in conjunction with the base model. I will say there are 4 different parts of a transfer in our mind that we need to master. That's when you're picking the individual up from wheelchair, when you are placing them down on bed, and then when you're picking them up from bed and then placing them down in the wheelchair. A lot of individuals have different wheelchairs, so I'm going to make a blanket statement understanding there can be wheelchair constraints, but just based purely on an individual's condition, the easiest part of our transfer is the putting them in the wheelchair or taking them out of the wheelchair. The most challenging or unique or custom is when they're laying down in bed, transferring the individual upright. We had an individual in a usability study that we completed this weekend, St. Craig, and he had a 6'6" brother that weighed 275 pounds at an end of life care, had extreme difficulty being transferred out of bed. He said, Craig, what you guys are doing is so much better than what is available. And even though this is an independent transfer and you're removing physical burden from the caregiver, human touch isn't bad. You can still have human touch with the caregiver if it's just a hand on the back of their neck or a hand on their shoulder, because there's comfort in that human touch.
Well, one version that we were talking about with some friends who are also excited about it is to incorporate it to be able to do a transfer onto a toilet and off the toilet. And our understanding is the current version is not designed to do that yet. Is that right?
That is correct. A lot of things in product development and commercialization are, is be the best at something and build off it from there. We are committed over the next 5 years to become the gold standard in bedside transfer. Now, what you bring up with you and your friends, we are listening. We are listening. And because it is the next frontier we want to master is assistive aid in the bathroom, whether it be for toilet or otherwise. I will tell you, out of the gate for a small company like ours, there are other considerations in that environment, humidity as an example, that could compromise some of those very core tenets that I mentioned about quality of the product.
Sure.
And so we understand that. We will be striving to evolve product or maybe, acquire another business or complementary technology. We are very much listening to how toilet transfer, bathroom utility is of high desire.
I don't know how Anton feels about robotics. I mean, it sounds like he's more in the area of mechanical engineering, but I've riffed on my fantasies of a personal assistive robot, and I don't know if that is an area that may perhaps long term would be explored, because Dan, you have your Obi. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Obi robotic feeder. But Dan has one, and it has totally changed, the way that we have our meals. And I think that if something were to be developed to help people simply get dressed or help with getting dressed, it would be a game changer. I feel like we're so close, yet we're so close, because we have autonomous vehicles, we have virtual reality, we have, wonderful things that we can do with the internet and these companies that are built off of them. We haven't figured out a way to help people who you could argue are some of the most vulnerable and living as independent, as autonomous of a life as possible.
Yeah. In this field of healthcare, and providing assistive aids and tools and devices, because that's the area I operate. There is always, at least in my almost 2 decades in the space, there's technology that's out there that a consumer can envision using, or why is that not incorporated yet with the delivery of care? And a lot of people refer to Alexa, and voice activation. And in my experience, look, I mean, the FDA regulates this, and I say that with, I wouldn't go as far as saying affection to the FDA, but an appreciation that, look, they're, as the oversight body, wanting to make sure that technologies, inventions are utilized by consumers in a safe and effective manner. And there's a way about going about doing it. And so when you talk about robotics, there's a reason why robotics has not yet been cleared en masse for a lot of, I won't call it personal care. And I'm sure it's under that lens of safety, not so much effectiveness per se, but a lot of times it can be safety. And so just one aspect of robotics, because we monitor robotics, and I say this genuinely, if there's a technology that's introduced that can help people, that leapfrogs us, I am all for individuals having a better quality of life, even if that's at our company's expense. My job is to make sure that doesn't happen, and that we evolve and can see where the future is going. But with robotics, there's software. All right. And in my experience, when you had software, because by the way, people are surprised, UpLyft doesn't have software right now.
Yeah.
And that's intentional, because we have simplicity in our design.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we won't have software as we go forward, but it's a different regulatory bar that we need to adhere to. And we first want to get product out and have it be used in a safe, effective manner it is. So that dynamic of software is something where, if you talk about UpLyft and robotics, that's one of the aspects of the bridge to get to that. But even in Japan, where per capita, it is the oldest society per capita, really, of a developed country in the world, you don't see robotics approved there yet. You'll see nice, wonderful videos of what can be, but they're not used in mass yet. And so dressing, I could see that being a frontier as well, that is desirable, just like the bathroom, of getting a holistic solution. And so my final thing I'll say, or maybe ask on this, because this is what I'm most interested in after Dan asked it, is what's your favorite food, Dan, that Obi has fed you?
Dan eats everything.
I was going to guess pasta.
Yeah.
It's been revolutionary. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We're right on the horizon of something really big, I think. And I'm so glad that we got to talk to you about your, revolutionary product. And we hope that it can work for many, many people. We really do.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And to all the listeners, if you may be an individual who has limited mobility or is a caregiver for a loved one, I wouldn't be doing my job unless I said, just check us out. My UpLyft is our website. That's My UpLyft with a Y. We have socials on Facebook and Instagram. So thank you so much, Viola and Dan, for giving me the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you, Craig. No, really, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you and your team, because your team has been lovely, for all the work that you're doing. It really is important work.
Yeah.